Teri here. I am so excited for another episode of Power of 1 Million. You all know that our goal is to allow you all to see what's possible. Who has reached $1 million or $1 million of anything, 1 million views, 1 million downloads, 1 million podcasts? I just want you all to see that it's possible so that you know it's possible for you too. So today I have the wonderful guests, Chris and Jen from Super Connector Media. They have had millions of views on different things and spoken in front of millions of people. So let's find out from them, what does it feel like and what does it take to speak in front of people? Welcome. Thank you for coming.
What's up? We're so grateful to have you here with our dogs in our home, in our living room. This is like the best day ever.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, I actually had your dog on my lap and he was relaxing.
He was loving life.
That never happens. I was just like, you know what? This is meant to be right now.
No, we feel very at home with you here, so we can't wait to jump in.
You. So, question for you all. Tell the people a little bit more about yourself. How did you all start Super Connector Media? And I know a little bit of your stories. Like you said, before you all even met, your word was connection. Is that right?
That's right.
And then, Chris, you said that part of your story had to do with your daughter, right?
Yeah.
So please tell the people how this
Where
got
do you want
started.
to start?
You go ahead and start. I mean, we'll start from how Super Connector Media became.
All right. So the thing is for me, there's a lot of people who grow up and they're like, oh, I want to be an entrepreneur. I know I'm going to be an entrepreneur. That was not the case for me. I had no thoughts of that. I grew up in two small towns in upstate New York, really, really small towns. And everyone in my family worked in a school system, and I just wanted to not work in a school system because I hated school. I was so bad. I got in trouble so much.
I feel you. I worked there, but I hated it too. No, I'm just playing.
Oh man! And I just wanted to get a job, and I got a job out of college, and it was working for this web design agency, and this was right towards the end of the .com boom, and right before the bust. And this company was started by these 4 guys, and my sister knew one of them. He brought me in, and the guy who brought me in 6 months in, he had left his family, was in rehab, he had a terrible coke problem, and he was the most stable out of the 4 partners. So one of the other guys is from the Wolf of Wall Street, was one of the guys in there, and I didn't know any of this, and they eventually stopped paying me, and I wound up starting my own company, and because I just was I don't want to ever have to rely on somebody. I want to rely on myself. And I started this company, and I had 3 big problems. So I had no money, they'd stopped paying me. I was living in New York City, no money, no connections, known as the Super Connector now. My company's called Super Connector Media, but at that time I had no connections. I grew up in small towns. I hardly went to college, and there was a zillion other companies doing the exact same thing that I was doing, or let's just say a million other companies that were doing the exact same thing that I was doing. So I was struggling to get clients, struggling to differentiate myself, doing all this stuff, and one day I'm watching TV, and I was watching CNBC, and there was this guy on there. I don't even remember who it was. But all I remember thinking was all right, I want to buy what he's selling. Then I'm I want to be this guy. And I thought to myself, well, what if I could do that for myself? What if I could leverage TV? What if I could leverage the media to understand, to get myself out there? So I started, I love learning stuff and figuring things out. So I started figuring it out, and I got in the New York Times, and then that started to lead to some stuff. Then next year, I got in this huge article that brought me my first multi-million-dollar client. Yep. Literally within 6 hours of that going out, they wound up finding us. It was a division of Virgin, Richard Branson's company. And from that point on, I grew companies through using media, through building up an amazing network, treating people really, really good. And the way Super Connector Media started was I was in a small mastermind group here in New York City with 3 other guys, called it the Dad Mastermind. We're all fathers, we're all entrepreneurs. And I had a different business at the time, a personal development and productivity company. And they looked at me one day, and this is why it's important to surround yourself with people that can see your blind spots. They looked at me one day and they said, Chris, why are you not teaching what you know best? I was like, F you, what do you mean? And right, that's really nice. And they're like, well, anytime that we describe you to somebody, we describe you as our unfair advantage. I was like, what does that mean? They said, well, you can take out your phone, you can text somebody, you could get us onto TV, you could find us a book agent, you could find us anything within 30 seconds. It'd take us like 6 months to make that happen. So I started thinking about it. And I realized that, the things that we're best at, we often don't realize. We think everyone's good at those things, right? So we don't teach them, we don't bring them out. And I started doing this event called Unfair Advantage Live. So it was a one-day event. I'll teach people how to get in the media, bring in experts, and then connect them with people in the media so they realize it's all about relationships. And from that event, I just kept listening to what people wanted. So it was a one-day event, made it into a two-day event, started doing some coaching, then offered a program, hired Jen's best friend. Jen and I started dating. And then eventually, not eventually, but like that summer, we were at a conference together. We always used to travel together. And I was speaking, and she crushed it there for me, even though she wasn't working for me. And I was like, listen, what would it take for you to close down? She had a very successful coaching business at the time. What would it take for you to close that down and join me in this company? And that's where Super Connector Media came from.
Wow. And wait, Jen, real quick before you go, because I know you're
Yes.
gonna have a great story too. You said you started and you had come back and you had no money and no connections.
Yep.
What was the first step you did to start building those connections?
Yeah, so one of the biggest things was just starting to write down potential people that could connect me to other people. So this is like one of the tools that we teach now. We call it the top 20, but I didn't realize it at the time. Like I literally just started writing down, different people that could connect me to people that might, like, so somebody I went to college with, somebody that I was in high school with, things like that. And then I just started putting myself out there. So the person from the New York Times, the article that I was in, I met her at a party. So I just forced myself to get outside of my comfort zone. I think that's like one of the biggest things for anything, is that this is like something we do every day. We dare ourselves, like one dare, Jen calls it the dare of the day, like something that'll force you outside of your comfort zone, even just a little bit.
Yeah. Is this what you all say too for, like, what if you're an introvert? How do introverts do this connection?
See, we're both introverts.
Really?
Yeah.
You could never tell.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm an introvert too.
Yeah.
We're so introverted, for sure.
We're just good at, being extroverts when we need to.
Exactly.
So, like,
Yeah,
our
yeah.
circles really, like, outside of, like, all of our, connect, like, but we spend most of the time, it's me, Jen, and our daughter, and, like, all this. So, we, I think, really relate to most of the people that come and do our programs and stuff would probably consider themselves, it's more on the introverted side. And one of the things the way that we flip it around, so like a lot of people get worried or nervous about being on TV or putting their message out there. The thing that we always say to people is don't make it about you. So think about the people that you could be helping. So think about your responsibility. So just like you don't have to be doing this, show and all that, but you feel like you have a responsibility to give back what you've learned, the knowledge that you've gained, and so that will push you past being, the fears or that come up, or the imposter syndrome or whatever it is, because you feel you have a responsibility. So it's the same exact thing.
Oh, that's so good. I feel like people really needed to hear that. And then Jen, what about you? So how did all this start for you?
So I was an actress. I moved to New York. Well, actually, I was in college at the University of Hartford as a musical theater major. And I dropped out of college. I was like, this is not for me. I need to move to New York City, and I need to do what I want to do. I wanted to be on Broadway and on TV, and I'm like, screw college, let's go. I moved to New York. And I end up booking my dream role in the Broadway national tour of The Wedding Singer right after school.
Oh my God. I got to go find a clip. You have any old clips of
she
this?
has
Oh, there's clips.
Oh my gosh.
Go on YouTube.
Oh, I can't wait to hear your
watch.
voice. That's
and,
okay.
and I manifested that full on using the law of attraction. I really did. That was my first experience with deciding that I wanted to do something and realizing that if you keep going and you do not stop and you see yourself as what you want to see, and you don't take no for an answer, and you keep getting uncomfortable and you keep taking action, you can get anything that you want. So I had that moment where I got everything that I wanted, and I traveled around the country and I performed as this role, and then I came home and I ended up booking a show on VH1 for 14 seasons where I got to be
14 seasons?
this, heavy metal chick. I didn't like heavy metal music, okay? But I was playing this part of this sexy heavy metal girl on this show on
And
VH1.
you are sexy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But it was kind of like I was wearing like a mask of who I really was, right? Like I was playing this role of this person, but I was still me. So it was, I was portraying myself as something that was really out of alignment from who I really was for a really long time.
Yeah.
And it was a great gig. I made great money. I made great connections. Like, I got to film at Sony Universal Studios and meet rock stars and interview them. And it was a cool experience. But at the same time, I was having this massive internal battle with myself because the person that I was portraying was not me.
Not you.
It was like and so I was like, oh, like, who am I? And I really believe that when you're out of alignment in your work, you start to become out of alignment in your personal life. And so I went down a massive spiral of depression, and I was dating a guy that was a completely toxic relationship. He was cheating on me. And so everything came to a halt, and the universe decided, you know what, Jen, I'm gonna smack you back up into alignment because you can't get yourself out of this, so I'm gonna get you out. And the show got canceled, the boyfriend dumped me, and I went from living in this multi-million-dollar apartment to living in a tiny little room with 6 other actors and a window that faced a brick wall.
Wow.
Same as Chris, I had 0 connections, 0 money, because I was really relying on this show and this guy and everything to, keep me afloat, and I had to start over. And I remember at that moment, I would look out that window every day and I would write down in this notebook, one day I will know why this happened. And I would write it down every day. I didn't know how I even had that insight that one day I would know why it happened. But I was like, one day I'll know. And I was like, all right, Jen, you got to figure out who you really are now. This is your shot. And you got to start showing up as real Jen and not this like heavy metal, sexy Jennifer person, this character that you've created. And so I worked really hard and decided that I wanted to start a business helping people. And because I loved fitness, I loved health and wellness.
Yeah.
So I built a really successful business, the one he was talking about that I ended up shutting down to start Super Connector Media. But I built it, and I built it by leveraging media and PR because I didn't know how to market myself. I was an actress. I knew nothing about marketing. I'm like, oh, but I know about media. And so I started to work to get myself on TV to change the narrative from metal girl to fitness girl, entrepreneur.
I saw that. You
all
were
those
helping
things.
clients too with fitness.
Oh yeah, I helped a lot of people transform their lives and their bodies. But what I really loved about that was when I would help these high-level people, these CEOs, these celebrities transform their bodies, they would start to show up more. Wow. They would start to be more visible, and they would have more confidence, and their whole life would change. And that was my favorite piece.
Yeah.
The food, the fitness, that was okay. The other piece was way more interesting to me. So when Chris and I got together, we were like, well, how do we combine all of this stuff and make...
With our forces combined.
make PR different.
Yeah.
And I infuse the mindset piece. So we're PR done differently. That's the slogan of our company.
Yeah.
And I'm the chief mindset officer, CMO. I'm
I
not
love that.
chief marketing officer. I'm the chief mindset officer. And now, we help millions of people all over the world get their message out there. But most importantly, like, we're really actually secretly a personal development company.
I I can tell. The question I was going to ask you is kind of personal development.
Yeah. We use media as the gateway to help people make epic transformations in their own lives and also help other people and create a ripple effect.
Man, take me back to that moment when you had to give up that multi-million-dollar apartment and move in with 6 friends. Like, what did that feel like? Because I feel like that's like a mental, that had to do something to you mentally.
Oh, yeah.
And then what is some advice for the audience on how they can get back into alignment?
So they weren't friends. It wasn't even like I was living with friends. I was living with roommates that I found on Craigslist and one friend. So it was very extreme. And there were so many moments, Teri, where I was like, maybe I should just go back. Maybe I should get that guy back and go back. What did I do? Like, I can't do this. I'm going to go back to the old life. It's not that bad, right? And you start making excuses and exceptions. You start to say, it wasn't that bad. I could do it.
I can deal with that.
You don't want to be in the discomfort. But the way that I did it, and we tell people that we work with this all the time, is I didn't necessarily believe 100% that I could make it out of that okay. I didn't. And we don't think that anybody really believes in anything 100%. We're humans. We always have a little bit of doubt. And if we're focused on, I got to believe 100% and I got to know the plan 100% before I can take action, we're never going to do anything. So we tell people that you should just believe a little bit more than you don't. Just like 51%. And so I had that little bit of belief that I could do it. And that little bit was the thing that got me through each day. And I took one day at a time, and I did one scary action step every single day to get me to where I needed to be. And every time you do something scary, you get a little bit more confident, because on the other side of the scary thing, you're like, oh, okay, that wasn't that bad. You put another little coin in the confidence bank, you get a little bit more confident each time. So day after day, I got a little bit stronger and a little bit stronger, and I believed a little bit more, and that 51% went to 52, and then 53. So what I would say to everybody watching is that if you're stuck in a hard place and you're out of alignment and you're like, oh, but all these people are telling me that I need to believe 150% and I gotta know for sure and know the plan, give yourself some grace and know that you just have to believe a little bit and get to that first action step. And that first action step will get you to that first little win, and that first little win will give you more momentum to get to the next one. And it's one baby step at a time.
Oh, I love that so much. Somebody needed to hear that. I needed to hear that. I appreciate that.
You're so welcome.
Now, what about?
I love it. I'm like, Inflo, I love you. You're so kind, and like, isn't she so soothing? And yeah, I'm loving this.
Well, you also talked about manifesting, and I even heard that you manifested Chris.
Oh, yeah.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
So how do you manifest? Because I want to learn how to manifest me a boo.
Okay. Well, okay. So I learned how to manifest from manifesting my role in The Wedding Singer, but then I stopped manifesting, remember? Because then my life blew up in a hot mess. And then I was like, wait a second, I need to get back to my powers that I used to have manifesting. And so I was like, what I want is I want love. And so I don't really necessarily believe that the law of attraction is this thing that if you think about something, it magically appears, which many people say. They're like, oh, if you visualize it,
it'll come.
Like, it's just like $1 million. I'm going to think about it, and then it's going to poof, appear. That's not what happens. But the subconscious mind is, it's basically the thing in our brains. We have the conscious mind and subconscious. The subconscious is driving the bus. The subconscious is what's kind of leading us and guiding us. You know, when you're driving a car and like you don't really necessarily know how you got someplace because you weren't really thinking, it's the subconscious. If you can reprogram your subconscious mind to believe that you have the things that you desire before you actually have them, the subconscious is going to kind of drive the bus like you're driving the car without you even realizing it towards that thing. So what I would do is I would talk to him every day before he existed in my life. And I had this picture of this guy on this vision board. It was like this guy I got out of a magazine. And I would wake up every day and I would visualize my 6-foot-tall entrepreneur with tattoos, previously married with a daughter, all these things, everything that Chris is. And I would speak to him and be like, hey, I can't wait to meet you today. Like, if you see me, I'm wearing this outfit. I'm like, come say hi to me. I can't wait to start an empire with you. I can't wait to have all these memories with you. And I would talk to him and I would get really, really familiar with who this person was. And I would start to feel every day as if he existed.
Yeah.
And it was like, you know, it might sound crazy, but I felt like I had this boyfriend in my head. And what that did is it made all the bad dates a lot less bad because it was like, oh, you're not him.
Right. I can identify it's not you.
I talk to him every day. I know it's not you. And when he did come into my life, it was really, really easy and quick to be able to say, oh, I've been talking to you forever. So that's one of the tools that I would give you. If you're trying to manifest your boo, is to get to know him on a really personal level. Talk to him. Communicate with him. Tell him how much you love him.
Oh my God, I can't wait. I'm gonna go put a picture on my vision board of Steph Curry because that's
there you go.
And I'm gonna talk to him.
I love it.
Oh my goodness. Now, how did you feel when you found out that she had manifested you?
So I'm as big and always have been, not always have been, that's not true, since like 2013, really into how to use my mind, how to manifest. When I literally, our first, wasn't even our date, like whatever it was. Like,
first time we hung out.
Yeah, it was November 29th, and which normally in New York would be cold, and like that day was like absolutely beautiful. And we were supposed to meet for coffee, like the whole long story of how we had gotten connected. And instead, I was like, let's go for a walk in Central Park. And it was like gorgeous, like today is, but a lot warmer. And the first thing I said to her when I walked up to her, what did I say to you?
Who's luckier than us?
This is perfect. You know, it's the middle of the day. We get to go for a walk, and anyway, so we started talking, and we walked around like the reservoir for so long, and I was like, oh, do you want to go to the bookstore? And the Barnes & Noble, and she's like, yeah, okay, I love Barnes & Noble. And I brought her right to the self-transformation section because that's like where, you know, all the books that's like my home. Like I read everything in there. And, you know, most of those are about manifesting and how to use your subconscious mind and everything. So I was right on board.
He bought me all these books.
Yeah.
I'm like, this guy's like, what guy takes you to the bookstore and buys you all these personal development books? I'm like, this is heaven. Like that's where I would spend my Saturday afternoons. And then when he was into it too, and he sent me this manifestation quote that day. So we were on the same page, and so he believed it. And one quick story that you have to know. This is very, very cool, and this was like a really big moment for us. So we met on November 29th, and my friend was getting married in Des Moines, Iowa on New Year's Eve.
Okay.
And I was going to go to this wedding by myself as a single girl to Des Moines, Iowa on New Year's Eve. Okay. Not fun.
That doesn't sound fun, but I wasn't sure, so I didn't say anything.
Yeah.
No.
It was like minus 60 degrees.
Like, yes, no fun. Okay. But I was going to do it and be a friend. And since we met, we were really close really quickly, and he's like, I'm going to come to that wedding with you. Now, I do this exercise every single year where I write myself a letter on December 31st. I write myself a letter to me on December 31st the next year.
Nice.
I seal it up. I say, don't open this and read this until, December 31st. So I can say, like, Jenny, I'm so proud of you. You did all these things, where I manifest the whole year in that letter, and I can celebrate the fact that they happened at the end of the year. So I'm with Chris. We're sitting on the bed in Des Moines, Iowa. Like, we're getting ready for this wedding. And I'm like, I gotta open up my letter and read it. I had no idea what it said. And I was like being very vulnerable to open my letter in front of this guy and like read this letter. And I opened it up, and it said, Dear Jenny, I'm so excited you're sitting next to the love of your life right now. Give him a kiss for me.
What?
Yeah. And
So you got a kiss?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Oh my gosh. Okay, wait. I want to jump into like your course and how you all are teaching people to get in front of like on TV and get in front of millions of people. But before we go there, I just like, that is so amazing.
Yeah, there's more stories like that. I've got so many. But we don't have enough time for all of them. We need to connect more later.
Yes.
I'll help you with manifesting your boo.
That is so cool. Okay, well, we'll switch gears. If we have time at the end, I might ask you another question about this manifesting.
There's one part to the story that she left out about the when we moved into the first place. And
Okay, should we tell that part of the story?
You gotta tell us.
It's okay.
All right, so vision board guy. Remember I had vision board guy, the guy that I would talk to? Okay, so it was the back of a guy's head. He was holding a baby looking out at the rainforest. It was just this photo that I found in a magazine, right? Not necessarily care about the rainforest or the baby or anything, but it was like, oh, this guy's not looking at me. So I could visualize any face on this guy. And he's the guy I talked to. And right next to that photo on my vision board was also a picture of a building that I wanted to live in. And when I was a personal trainer, I would train people at this building. And I would tell the doorman when I would walk in, I would be like, I'm gonna live here one day. I'm gonna live here. And they were like, okay, yeah, you're a personal trainer. Like, you live across the street in the studio
this
apartment.
is one of the most expensive buildings in Manhattan.
Yeah.
I'm not going to live here.
Big floor-to-ceiling windows like this. Like, it was just so stunning, and I would just, like, that was where I wanted to live. Picture the building, picture the guy. And when I would talk to the guy, I'd be like, we're going to live at 200 West 72nd Street together in one of the penthouse apartments with the floor-to-ceiling windows that look over 72nd Street. And I would visualize us, like, walking home to our apartment and all these things. So we finally skipped to the good part. Chris and I end up getting that apartment, okay, in that building. And when we moved in, Chris was standing looking out the window holding my dog. And I'm like, that looks so familiar. Why does this look like, and I took a picture of him, like, it's a really pretty picture, but it looks really familiar. I put it next to the vision board guy picture, and the vision board guy picture is like holding this baby and looking out at the rainforest, and Chris is holding my dog Dexter and looking out at the city, and it's like exactly the same. And I'll give it to you so that you guys can put it in the video for everybody to see. But they say when you're manifesting, it's this or something better. Yeah. And for me, my dog was better than a baby, and the city was way better than the rainforest, but it was the exact same image. So,
oh my gosh,
really cool.
Random question for you guys, if you're willing to share, because you talked about how you write a letter to yourself for January. So this is January now. Yeah. Like, what's one thing, if you were willing to share, that you have on your letter for this year by the end of the year?
Chris, you go first. What's something you're manifesting this year?
Oh, so one thing is, actually, we had a really good year last year, but to grow by 100% for this coming year for our one company, Super Connector.
Oh, I believe in that for you. I know that's going to happen.
And
oh, that's so great.
Yeah. And so it is. I'm going to get my book deal this year.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah. So
Okay.
that's happening this year.
I can. Oh my! Can we like toast or celebrate when that happens for you? Because I feel like
100%.
it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Oh, it's happened.
Oh, I love that.
They
I
just
love
started
that.
shopping
They
it
started
today.
shopping
Hurry
it today, actually. I just got off a call with
What?
them. Yeah.
Look at that.
So my proposal's out. And yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well,
Thank
okay.
you.
We don't have much time left, but y'all, how do people? So, even me, but also for the audience, how do people feel confident speaking in front of a lot of people? And then, like, how would someone get on TV? Because you all are experts in this.
Yeah.
So yeah, we teach people, we have something called the Be on TV Bootcamp, which we actually started due to the pandemic. So we have an agency, Super Connector Media, which works with, really high level people, startups, Fortune 500s, so it's a boutique PR agency. So we know what we're doing. But then we also, as I was talking about, we had the events, and so much of our revenue was driven directly through live events. So we did 3 live events ourselves each year, and then between Jen and I spoke on probably 60 different stages in, let's say, 2019. So about 75-80% of our revenue was directly tied to live events. So this thing called coronavirus that probably some of you heard about came around.
Maybe.
Maybe. I don't know. It hasn't done that well in the news. But it came, and we were supposed to do an event in May 2020, and it had been like, it was like halfway sold out, like in the first month, and then boom, it was in New York City in May 2020. Nothing's happening there. So we realized, all right, we're gonna have to change up like everything. So what we decided was to start teaching people online. So through this challenge model, through something we call the Be on TV Bootcamp. And where it came from is like we said, all right, what do people really want when they come to us? One of the main things, they want to learn how to get on, they want to be on TV. Then also what had happened as a result of the pandemic was that all of a sudden people didn't have to live in New York City to be on, a show in New York City. Everything started to happen remotely. So, our thing was like we would be constantly doing interviews, like have a nice shirt on and like sweatpants and like from your home. So we started teaching people. Yeah. Oh my God.
Yoga pants.
Yeah. So we figured out, we sat down one day, we mapped it out. All right, here's what they need on day one, just like exactly how we would work with one of our clients who's paying us like 15, 20 grand a month. Here's the plan. So giving them, here's their mindset piece, here's how to get clear on where you want to be, here's how to get clear on your messaging, here's how to write a pitch using like one of our actual pitches, and then here's how to bring it all together and using your own existing network, how to get on TV within those 5 days. And amazing things started to happen like as soon as we started doing this. So not only were people getting on TV in 5 days, but also people were changing their lives. So for example, one of my favorite stories ever, just because Jen was talking about, we go beyond just like, TV or media or anything. We're really personal. And this one woman, Brenda, absolutely amazing woman. She had like basically her whole life had kind of fallen apart. She had been in the military. She had been sexually assaulted in the military. And then the PTSD last year or whenever, around like all the riots, around everything that started happening with George Floyd, and like her PTSD like just came back in such a big way. Plus her husband asked to divorce her at the same time. She was literally ready to kill herself. And she called up the suicide hotline and she said, she's like, I'm ready to take myself out. And the guy on the other line said, listen, just stay alive for tonight and find something that interests you tomorrow. Just anything that, you find some interest in, and, just try to do it. Just try it. Just one day. Email comes through from one of our partners about the Be on TV Bootcamp. She's like, what is this? Like, she clicks through. She's like, oh my God, who are these two people? They seem too happy. Like, oh, I hate them. But I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to listen to that guy. So she gets on there the first day, and she tells this story. It's so great. Like, she gets on there the first day. She's like, I put on my video, even though my hair was in, like everything. I wasn't made up, but the girl told me to turn my video on, and I did. And so on the first day, Jen has everyone do this really, really powerful exercise called your badass list. And she did it. And she realized and remembered like how unbelievable she was and like how powerful she was. And something literally transformed in her, and she started doing a Facebook Live. And because this is how it all works. So she started doing a Facebook Live talking about like how she's coming out of this, and that she's she's worthy and all this. She gets a message that night from another woman who said, or the next day, the next morning, before the second day started, she gets a message on Facebook from a woman who said, "You don't know me, but I saw your Facebook Live last night, and for the first time in 4 years, I got up and fed my kids breakfast." She said 4 years ago, my son killed himself, and I haven't been able to get out of bed. But after seeing what you did, I get like choked up thinking about this. After seeing you and hearing your story, this woman has been on fire ever since. She has like multiple businesses
going.
like
she
wrote books, she has a TV show, like all this. But that's like what it's like really about is, so we say this thing, HOPE, help one person every day. So if you think about like, all right, if you're thinking about going on TV and you're like, I have to impress every single person, it's not gonna work, no matter what. Same thing if I do this interview and I'm like, I gotta make sure every person loves what I say. There's a lot of people gonna be like, I hate this guy, I don't like his voice, whatever. That's okay, but if I think about just helping one person, and that one person is gonna get what it needs what I'm saying, that changes everything. That's how you do it. So then I can show up in front of anywhere. It doesn't matter. It could be the biggest stage, the biggest TV show, whatever it is, because I'm just caring about helping one person.
Yeah. Then we have 60 seconds left.
Yes.
But if you don't mind, I'd love for you to speak into the camera. Talk to that person who's afraid to share their message. Tell them tell them something. And then let us know also how to get in touch with you guys so they can know how to find you.
So beontvbootcamp.com. Now you tell.
Oh, okay. That was first. All right. All I'm going to say is self-promotion is not gross. It's your responsibility. Because every single day that goes by that you are not being visible to the people that you can help is another day that those people are going to go pay someone else or listen to someone else that is not as good as you and doesn't care as much as you simply because you don't want to put yourself out there. So it's your responsibility. And if you are not showing up and being visible, it's quite selfish. It's about the person on the other side. So help them find you by being seen.
I love it. Thank you all so much for your time today. This was amazing.
Thank you.
Oh,